From censored files to clear evidence, this is Redacted Realms.
The first time she saw the face in the mirror, it was smiling back at her from a place where her own reflection should have been. It was the smell that confirmed this wasn't a trick of the light. A thick, coppery scent of iron that clung to the back of her throat. Every night since, she'd wake to find it standing at the foot of her bed, motionless, watching with those same empty eyes that held no pupils. Her breath hitched in her chest as she realized the cold wasn't coming from the window. Might radiated from the thing itself, a damp, penetrating chill that seeped into her bones. The scratching started on the third night. Not at the door or window, but directly beneath her mattress, slow and deliberate, like something was carving its way up. A primal dread took hold when she discovered the photographs, dozens of them, hidden in her own albums, showing her sleeping, unaware, with the same figure always in the background. The final message appeared not on paper or screen, but etched into her bedroom wall in a sticky, dark substance that smelled of ozone and decay. Until you do, and the moment you open that app, you don't find a lie, you find a whole other life. The stale scent of ozone fills the air as the screen's light casts long, unnatural shadows. A low, electronic hum vibrates through the device into their palm. On the GPS map, a pulsing dot wasn't at the kennel where it should have been. Instead, it throbbed in a quiet residential neighborhood I didn't recognize. The label beneath it simply read, Buster. A cold, metallic scent filled the air as my fingers tightened around the phone. This is the story of the night I found my husband's other family. Not through whispers or lies, but using the GPS tracker we bought for our dog. Every instinct screamed to look away. But a heavy, suffocating dread held my gaze fixed on that glowing, betraying point of light. And why the most terrifying question wasn't, who is she? But, which one of us was the other woman? My name is Sarah. This was supposed to be our fresh start. After the miscarriage, the stillness in our Ohio home became a third occupant. My husband David, the kind of man who remembers your favorite coffee order for a decade, suggested we get a dog, a distraction, a little joy. We brought home Buster, a golden retriever puppy whose eyes held no grief at all. David's consulting work in Cincinnati, just an hour away, required more frequent travel. He insisted it was to secure our future, to save for potential treatments. He kissed my forehead before leaving, his voice soft with promises about our tomorrows. We laughed in our backyard as Buster tumbled through the grass, and we cooked together in the evenings. Those moments held the warmth I clung to. But with each departure, the house grew quieter, the empty spaces between his returns stretching longer and more hollow. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? We were partners in this grief. The damp night air carried the scent of wet earth and decay. His voice was steady, but I felt the subtle tension in his shoulder against mine. We were grieving together, yet something in that shared sorrow felt altered. The night Buster slipped under the fence, 20 minutes stretched into an eternity. I stood frozen at the window, the cold glass pressing against my palms as David's side of the bed remained starkly empty. Each second was a hollow echo in the silent house. The only scent was my own sharp, panicked breath. When he finally trotted back, mud-caked and oblivious, a decade of dread had settled into my bones. David, ever practical, ordered a top-tier GPS collar that same afternoon, a digital tether for the next time the shadows call. Now we'll always know where our boy is, he said, smiling. Our boy. It felt like a promise. The first anomaly was a Tuesday. A faint metallic scent, like ozone, clung to the air that morning. Then came the whispers. Not from the wind, but from the device itself. David's text glowed on my phone. Stuck at the office. Late client dinner. Don't wait up. Buster lay sleeping as I mindlessly tapped the Find My Fur app, its little paw print icon, a digital comfort. I just wanted to see that dot on the map. A small assurance in the quiet house. Then the app loaded, and the map was empty. The tracker had vanished. The app's glowing dot placed Buster at Pampered Paws Kennel in Cincinnati. Sarah stared, a cold confusion settling in her gut as the screen's light flickered across her face. The air in the room felt suddenly thin. The only sound, the distant, rhythmic drip of a faucet. With a numb hand, she dialed David, her voice a low whisper. Hey, you dropped Buster at the kennel? The air grew heavy, thick, with the faint scent of ozone and something metallic. His breath hitched as he said, I didn't know you were going to Cincinnati today. A beat of silence, broken only by the sticky sound of damp fabric shifting. Then, a laugh, a little too loud. Oh yeah, it was a last-minute thing. I forgot to tell you. I didn't want him to be lonely. That explanation, it made a strange kind of sense. It almost made perfect sense, and that was the most terrifying part of all. Yet the notifications persisted, returning with unnerving regularity. Soon, Pampered Paws became a spectral fixture, haunting David's late hours. The air grew heavy with a metallic scent as my focus shifted. I wasn't checking the app for Buster anymore, but for my husband. The logic was a fragile house of cards. If Buster was at the kennel in Cincinnati, then David had to be there too. But why the elaborate lie about the client dinner? Sarah scrolled through the digital statements, the screen's glow casting sharp angles across her face. Each click echoed in the quiet room, the air thickening with the scent of ozone and dread. Her face turned ashen in the monitor's ghostly glow. My eyes fell upon the charges for Pampered Paws. Then, another transaction from a children's toy store. And finally, a receipt for baby girls' clothes. I'd used the wrong credit card. My hands went ice cold. Was it a colleague's kid? Some charity fundraiser? The lies had become breathing, living things in our home. The air in the house grew thick with the scent of ozone and something metallic, like old pennies. The climax arrived on a Thursday, heralded by another late-night text. Then came the cold, digital ping from the Kennel app, a sound that now felt like a physical touch. But this time, a storm was rolling in, thick, with a sick, nervous energy. I told myself I was just going to check on Buster. The air grew heavy, tasting of ozone and damp earth. That was all. The drive to Cincinnati was a fever dream through the downpour. Every mile marker felt like a countdown, the thunder a grim drumbeat. I was chasing a ghost, a phantom lodged in my own fractured memory. This wasn't a search for truth, but a confrontation with the madness I feared. The rain hammered down in a biblical deluge. My phone's cold glow was my only guide, its maps pulling me toward that incessant, blinking signal. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs, a rhythm of pure dread. The app led me out of the commercial glow, past the silent kennel, and into the damp, waiting quiet of Maple Grove. Sarah's windshield wipers slashed through the downpour as she turned onto Cedar Lane, a narrow street choked by ancient oaks. The robotic GPS voice announced, "You have arrived at your destination," its cheerful tone now a grim pronouncement. The air in the car grew thick, carrying the scent of wet earth and something faintly metallic. Each swipe of the wipers revealed only the same dark, empty street, stretching into a void the headlights couldn't penetrate. I wasn't at a kennel. I stood before a charming two-story colonial, its porch holding a small tricycle and a pink scooter resting in the driveway. The air carried the scent of damp earth and something faintly metallic, like old coins left in the rain. From inside came no laughter or movement, just the persistent creak of a floorboard under unseen weight. My skin prickled with a sudden, crawling awareness that this picture-perfect home held a profound and watchful stillness. And there in the driveway was David's car. The air in my lungs seized, thick with ozone and cold damp. I cut the engine, and the silence that followed was a suffocating weight. The downpour hammered the roof as I sat, utterly paralyzed. The front door swung open, and David emerged into the dim light. He was laughing, a sound that felt alien and out of place. It was a smile I hadn't seen in years, devoid of its former warmth. My gaze dropped to his left hand. His wedding ring was gone. He cradled a small girl, perhaps 3, against his hip. A younger woman materialized in the doorway, lovely, an infant in her arms. She reached out and straightened the collar of David's shirt. It was a gesture of intimate, domestic familiarity. Through the rain-streaked window, the scene played out like a silent, horrific movie. He leaned in and kissed the woman on the lips. Not a farewell, but a promise of morning. The air inside the house smelled of ozone and damp wool, thick with domestic comfort. Outside, the whispering rain carried the faint, metallic scent of wet earth and something else, something ancient and waiting. He was home, and in that moment, I understood. Buster was never at the kennel. David had bought 2 trackers. I left one for our dog and another in his car for their dog. The app wasn't tracking Buster. It was mapping the coordinates of David's other life. Sarah's phone screen glowed in the dark, the pulsing dot hovering over the house. The label, ESTR, now feeling like a cruel taunt. He slid into his car, the engine coughing to life.
His headlights carved through the gloom, sweeping across my windshield in twin arcs of cold white.
For a fractured second, his gaze locked with mine in the rearview mirror. A silent, knowing exchange in the dark. I watched the smile evaporate from his lips. The color drained from his face, leaving a pallid mask of shock. He recognized my car. I could see the realization solidify in his gaze. Without slowing, he turned out of the neighborhood, beginning the long drive back to our house. I didn't follow him, but remained watching the house. The woman, perhaps named Emily or Chloe, lingered in the doorway, gazing out into the storm. For a suspended moment, she stood there, unaware of the watching eye. Then she closed the door, sealing herself within her perfect, ignorant world. I drove home that night, the warm glow from Cedar Lane's windows fading in my rearview mirror, until only darkness remained. He was already there, pacing like a caged animal in our dim living room. Before I could even shed my coat, a torrent of explanations poured from him. Stories of a needy colleague, a temporary arrangement gone wrong. The air grew thick with the scent of ozone and desperation as his excuses hung between us like a shroud. He wept, insisting I was his true love, that this was his only reality. The air thickened with the scent of ozone and damp earth. I just stared, paralyzed by the raw, unsettling truth in his words. A low, rhythmic scratching echoed from the walls around us. I stared at the architect of 2 families, 2 homes, 2 sets of celebrations he'd carefully kept apart. He'd even bought matching GPS trackers, a failsafe to prevent his separate worlds from ever touching. Sarah's voice, now quiet and fractured, cut through the heavy silence that had settled between us. I didn't speak. I simply lifted my phone, tapped open the find my fur, aft, and turn the screen toward him. The air grew thick with the scent of ozone, cold dread, as his expression shifted from confusion to raw, paralyzing realization. The map, the dot on the house on Cedar Lane, the label, Buster, shining back at us, narrator. The greatest lie wasn't that he had another family. For years, the greatest lie I believed was that I had been living in his kennel. The air in that cramped space always carried the damp, metallic scent of rust and old fear. But the most haunting question, the one that still claws at my mind in the quiet hours, is this. Which one of us was he really tracking all along? Sometimes, the truth isn't just hidden. It's living a completely different life. The final chord hung in the air. A lingering sorrow that seemed to seep into the very walls. The scent of old paper and damp earth thickened. A tangible presence in stillness. Then, a faint, wet scratching sound began from somewhere within the walls. It was a sound that promised nothing good. A quiet harbinger in the gloom.
If this file opened your eyes, subscribe and open the next case.